Hey folks, this is Jake Davis with On the Fly Review for you, and today I'm talking about Anora, which was released earlier this year. It's directed by Sean Baker and stars Mickey Madison. Now, this is a film I've been trying to get to 4 months. I had difficulty getting a chance to see it. Heard a lot of good things about this movie. Thought the trailer looked really interesting. You got this really guerrilla style filmmaker like Sean Baker, who, I mean, even if I didn't love his first film, or his first two films, I thought Red Rocket was something really terrific, and I really like his style of filmmaking. Of just all four of his movies, all three of his previous movies had just with these films that just kind of just kept left me guessing. Very interesting, unique, good writer, adult storytelling, telling vulnerable stories about real people, and definitely a voice here. You know, you can guy who's trying to say something about folks. Now, this is this movie that's getting all of this attention. Looks like it's going to be like a major frontrunner, if not the frontrunner for the Oscars to win Best Picture. I think Conclave is a big contender for Best Picture. Don't rule it out. But Anora might do some might pick up a lot of awards this year. The fact that, you know, Sean Baker and Mickey Madison aren't household names might affect the situation, but at least let me tell you what the film's about here. Just 2 seconds. Now, without giving away too much of the story, Mikey plays a a stripper in New York who ends up is she New York? Yeah, she's a stripper who that's right, it goes back to New York and Vegas. It's 2 different settings. Sorry, I knew that. Anyhow, she's a stripper who ends up making the cardinal sin of being a stripper or a sex worker in general, and she falls in love with a trick who is just very rambunctious young Russian man who has just money to piss away. Now, it turns out his family are not people you really want to ever meet. And she gets dragged into just a heartbreaking, absurd, sometimes hysterical, but ultimately nightmarish experience. I was reminded of the recent film Zola from 2021, which I've praised. I wish, you know, all the people still in love at Anora right now were there with Zola a few years ago. And you know what? Go back and still you can find that love. There's a great little movie. It's not as, it's just as good in my opinion. Zola's just as good as Anora, but it's not as layered and to a degree really epic. It's more of a straightforward, absurd kind of thriller, and it's about 45 minutes shorter. But it's a great movie. It's one of my favorite movies from that year. But with Anora here, man, this was this movie that it's just a lot of films in modern times, especially like big studio movies. We have these committee situations. They suffer from like these massive mood swings. You know, almost like the film itself is bipolar. Doesn't know if it's comedy or tragedy, or the action film or a horror movie. Look at a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, a film that I liked. And there's a scene where the villain destroys an entire planet. He just murdered billions of people, and no one. And the scene just moves on. Like, no one really addresses or takes in the shock or the horror of what they all experienced and just saw. Because we're running out of time. We got to hurry up and get to the third act. that kind of stuff gets, troublesome, for uh, lack of a better word, problematic. Excuse me. So ultimately, Anora is a film that is, with its tone wise, properly develops its tones because it's about 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and it begins as a raunchy, R-rated, X-rated, even very adult, but almost wondrous, hopeful, borderline fairy tale runaway romance, which quickly spirals into a violent, chaotic, absurd thriller, and then finally crashes down to the true, heartbreaking tragedy that it is. Uh, when you, especially come this time of the year, it's like, what, 2 weeks left of the year, and hell, I'm sitting there listening around, I'm drinking cocoa and listening to Christmas music, for Christ's sakes, it's so goddamn late in the year. But when you hear for months the best movie of the year, very common you get, it's not gonna be that good. It can't be that good. But it's so refreshing when it is that good. And Nora is a film I uh, wholeheartedly recommend. Much like my favorite film from last year, Saltburn, this is an incredibly adult, human, uh, violent, sexual film. Do not watch it with your children. Don't even watch it with your parents. Just this is this is this is the best movie of the year, possibly. I mean, I still am a huge fan of Saturday Night. This is probably no movie I've seen more times this year. And as far as just silly popcorn, put it on and turn your brain off and have fun movie this year, it has to be Deadpool and Wolverine. uh, but yeah, I'm sitting back, going back through, looking at all the movies, and trying to figure what, trying to decide on my own personal favorites of the year, and it's a little surprised that even if there aren't, I think there's a lot lacking. There are a lot of really bad movies this year, folks. Madam Web, Joker 2, Craven, The Crow, Hellboy. And those are just the superhero movies. I mean, there was Argyle, for Christ's sakes. There was, what was that one? The Strangers movie was awful. Tarot was awful. Sting was awful. That goddamn, the caveman movie, Out of Darkness, was awful. Trap was the most nepotistic thing I've ever seen in my life. It was the most nepotistic thing that's happened. That the most harmful nepotism since George Bush forced the Republican Party to nominate his son. I give Anora 5 stars. I think it is genuinely one of the best movies of the year. Terrific performances and excellent direction. Great script, photography. I do think the movie does go a little long, but at the same time, it never drags. So, that is what it is. Depends on if you can handle a long movie or not, I guess. I highly recommend this movie. The three big movies, the big front runners going into the award season this year after, we've gotten the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice and, like LA and New York and all these big city film critic groups have started announcing all their nominees. And three of the big movies that really stand out are Conclave, Anora, and Wicked. And I would recommend all three of those movies. I have not seen The Brutalist. I've heard it's like 4 hours long. I guess I'll watch it if I get a chance. I'd like to see Guy Pearce finally get an Oscar nomination. He's been great since Go. But yes, I'm highly recommending Anora. It's an excellent movie. How have I talked about this for 10 minutes and barely even talked about the movie? I'm Jake Davis, because I didn't want to give anything away. And I'll catch you on the fly.